door to some folks that were big Goldwater supporters, and they said, vote for Goldwater. But I was only 7, so.
You weren't allowed to, huh?
Yeah.
I do. And we're about the same age, I'm guessing, because I recall Barry Goldwater as well. And but caller, you're absolutely right. I do know my history about Barry Goldwater, even though I wasn't old enough at the time to recognize what was going on. He warned us against the socialist state that we were trying to lean towards then, with the Great Society and all of that nonsense. And the simple truth is that what we've had growing is a cancer in this country. And I'm here to tell you that cancer grows by the cell, right? I mean, you can ask any doctor about it, but cancer is the perfect analogy to what is happening to our government and our nation. It is a cancer that is eating us out from the inside and is metastasizing. It started out as a little lump, but then it grows to the bone. And right now, we have to do major surgery to excise the murderer inside of us. And I'm here to tell you that our federal government is so out of control that it is time for radical change. We must, absolutely must, fundamentally remove the federal government from our lives. And that's going to require that they become microscopic in size. They are only authorized constitutionally to do 5 basic enumerated functions. And if we don't reduce them back to those enumerated functions, I promise you that we will look like Nazi Germany, or we will look like Mussolini's Italy, or we will look like communist Soviet Russia. You can pick the worst analogy you want, but here's the difference. Back when those guys were operating, we were the last vestige of hope for the planet. If we go, so goes the world. Our phone numbers are 257-1111, 866-554-6636, and we have Bob Parker in studio this morning.
And this is freedom's last stand here in this country. This is the best place in the world. We are the most free place in the world, or have been for many, many years, but we are losing that, folks. I join with Mike here. He talks about being Paul Revere, and in the spirit of Paul Revere, that's what we're doing. We're sounding the alarm. We're riding through the villages and the towns on this radio show, and we're telling you better get informed about what's happening in this country. Get on the internet, listen to talk radio, read all you can, because we are losing the country that we love and the freedoms that we love right before our eyes with this administration and this government that we have in Washington, D.C. Get involved, wake up, and if we want to change Washington, let's change the people that we have in Washington and start electing people that, have had a job out in the real world. And, I had a dairy farm for years. I understand how free enterprise works and capitalism works, and that's what made this country great. And the socialism that we see that's rampant across this country, and fascism, the joining of government and business, that will destroy our freedom in this country. We will not be a wealthy, prosperous nation for much longer.
No, we won't. Come on into the room, caller.
Yeah, Bob Parker. I called a minute ago, and I made the mistake of saying I was voting Republican. I always try to vote for the person. I go through and try to vote for the individual 99.9% of the time, but I wanted to apologize for that statement. But sounds to me like you're the man, and I'll be voting for you.
Well,
and
I appreciate that very much.
I appreciate the way you're talking, because I'm so tired of everybody just cowing down and backing down,
Well, under the Bush administration, we had a program, the NACE program, to register my farm, register all my cattle, chip everything, and report everything. It would just be devastating. It's going to be devastating to the small farmers in this district. And that was under the Bush administration, folks. Yep. That was under Bush. When we tried to get Bush to stop it, he wouldn't do anything to stop it. Now, Obama's doing the same thing under the Food Safety Act. If you don't get people in Washington, D.C. to start representing the interests of the people, we are done in this country.
Can I ask you a question? I agree with you. But what do you, if people don't wake up and downsize the government, are they going to turn it into just a military state to where there'll be no more voting?
We already are, Guy.
Yeah, well,
we're already a police state. They just haven't announced it publicly. Look, we're already a police state. And I'm going to give you one sentence to prove it to you. You're afraid to take a stand. End of discussion. People are
Exactly.
afraid to speak out. And if that doesn't tell you all you need to know, I have heard people say to me time and time and time again, well, I'm afraid to say something because they might come after me.
Yeah.
That in and of itself tells you that we live in a police state. There are no other arguments to be made.
Exactly. And what we're talking about here, Mike, is just freedom kinds of things, following the Constitution, following the rule of law, following in the footsteps of our founders. But that's truth is treason in a nation of lies. I mean, we just continue to go down this path. And, folks, it's not heading in a good direction here.
It's time to take a stand. It's time to take a stand and get behind the few candidates that are out there that are going to actually truly represent the American populace and the American people. And the number one role they're going to have when they get into office is to immediately disband, however they've got to do it, working from the inside to start cutting this cancer out. To use the analogy of cancer one more time, basically, we have to inject representatives, citizen legislators into the federal government who are going to act like that little nuclear seed that you've heard about, right? Where they bury this nuclear seed into the heart of a tumor and they start to kill this thing from the inside with radiation. That is exactly what guys like Bob Parker have to do. They have to get inside. We have to inject them deep into the heart of the tumor with a needle and let them work from the inside to begin to kill this cancer from where it matters and the only way that we can kill it. The only other way that we can kill it, folks, is with a radical surgery that will more than likely kill the patient.
Yeah, I've been called radical, and if it's radical to believe in the Constitution and what's going on in this country, then just count me in. Jesus was a radical. Our founders were radicals. Just count me in that group.
And if you're one of those guys that stands there and says, well, Jesus was a man of peace, guess what? He threw the money changers out of the temple, didn't he? He took them out and he physically threw them out of the temple. So don't tell me that you have to be Mr. Mild and meek and milquetoast. That's not true. Right.
What would Jesus do? He'd take a whip and go up to Washington, D.C. and clean house.
Start thrashing people. Exactly. We've got to take a break. It's the top of the hour. And Bob Parker is with us only until the top of the hour. His website is important for you to go see. It is electbobparker.com. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that. We've got another guest coming on at 8 o'clock. This is Chris Purvis. He's running for state representative for the county of Texas. And it's important that you guys get out there and educate yourself and participate. Assist Bob Parker in getting into Washington, because that's what really matters. Okay, we got to take the break. My producer's having kittens over here. Time for news and weather. All right, we are back. My name is Mike Manchin, and we are on 107.1 The Point. You're listening to our radio show that's on from 6 to 9 every Saturday morning. We talk about things politics. We talk about things. We are Paul Revere, sending out the alert that the American dream is fading quickly. We just had on a guest, Bob Parker, who is running for the 8th District in the federal House of Representatives.